Welcome, welcome everybody. Great to see you here for our #Thursday Fave session, talking about the first 5 steps to starting your baking business today as our weekly contribution to your baking business content here online. If you are viewing this on the replay, go ahead and throw up your #replay. If you're viewing on the live anytime, go ahead and throw up your #live so I know that you've seen the content. If we've never met before, I'm Melissa Fryer. I'm the owner and the main CEO at Build a Better Bakery, which is a mentorship business, I guess. We work online helping bakers all across the world and locally, but mostly online content. And what I like to do is help people take control of their baking business. So a lot of times when I'm meeting new bakers here in the group or just in general, I hear a lot of people saying they feel out of control, they don't know what to focus on, they're not sure where they should put their efforts, they're not sure about their numbers, they're not sure about, if they should expand their business, if they should hire someone, if they should get into a storefront, all of those questions. So I like to help people find more control, and it's really just asking questions, getting answers for them, making plans for them, things like that, so they can do less worrying and just more working on their business, but also keeping the joy intact because it can get lost along the way. Sometimes we forget why we're even doing this, or we forget what our main purpose is. And so I like to help people figure that out too and just keep that front and center so it's easier to continue being a small business owner and an entrepreneur, especially right now with everything that's going on. So I think that joy is really important. And then lastly, we focus on sustainable income because that's the way you keep the doors open. That's how you continue to serve your community. And I want to make sure you can do this as long as possible. For me, I'm almost 20 years in and I've done lots of things, worked commercially. I've worked, my own business at home. I've done online sales, helped someone with their food truck. I've seen the ins and outs of a lot of baking business options. So that is why I'm here to share with you. And that's why I do this, because I have a lot to add to the conversation. So so if you have any comments during this session, go ahead and throw them up. That's why I'm here at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, usually every Thursday, with some good information for you. Our theme for this month in July is a path from hobby to selling. So I do get a lot of new people asking questions about getting started. So what I'm going to do is distill down some of the most common questions that I get so that people who are maybe on the fence or who have made some choices can come in here and get some reassurance for maybe the process that they're already working through. Today's topic is all about working through those first 5 steps of getting started, and it's going to be in an order that I would recommend as a mentor. So it might not be the order you see in every blog post you read. This is what I think works best for most people. Again, if you're here live, throw up your #live. If you want to stay in the know about these as they are created, you can check the events in this Facebook group. I want to warn you that at some point we might actually be moving to YouTube and not using this Facebook group anymore. I'm not sure about that yet. So go ahead and follow us on YouTube if you haven't already. It's nice to be on there because it's free, just like this group, and there's also replays on demand, more in a catalog format, which could be easier for you to use. Here on Facebook, as we are working here still, you can send me a friend request. That's to Melissa Fryer. And once I accept it, you'll get invites to all the new events I make. So when I make the events for August, you'll get all of those invitations right to your inbox. You can also go into the current events and mark yourself as going. That will help Facebook remind you that it's happening. And then lastly, you can hang out on our email list, which is another free resource for you. You're going to get direct replay links, usually a couple weeks after they air, and along with other resources and invitations, and just keeping you up to date on everything that we're offering because I want to make sure you don't miss anything. Again, we're here at 9 a.m. Mountain Time right now in the Bakery Business School group, going live almost every week, sharing some tidbits of information and new content for you to keep you feeling supported along your journey. So we're going to hop right in with the first step to starting your baking business, and that is number 1, check in with yourself. So yes, I do talk to many people, especially that free 20-minute call that I offer in my on my consultations page that you can choose. Everyone in the group gets at least 1 free 20 minutes with me. So if you haven't taken advantage of it already, please do, because I love talking to bakers. I think it's important that you get a little bit of an outside perspective of whatever you're doing, especially if this is new for you, because sometimes there's just things that don't really come up, especially if you're really only looking at online content and you're not really talking to anyone in your local community, that kind of thing. So definitely talk to me there. And when I'm talking to people about starting their baking businesses, I think I think there's kind of this rose-colored glasses situation, kind of like a romantic idea about what this is. And don't get me wrong, I love baking. Again, I'm almost 20 years in, so you can do this long term, but I don't think that, of course, if you've never done it before, you won't actually know what it's like. So I just want to lay this out and pull off the Band-Aid for anyone who's kind of like not really sure what this is. It's absolutely hard work. This isn't easy. It's not going to be easy for anybody. So if you're having issues with like your back or your feet or your hands or your arms or your neck or anything physical like that, or your mental health, if you can't stay on task, if things are happening in the background, this is going to be difficult. I'm not telling you not to do it, but there are going to be things that are harder about this because it is hard work. There's going to be long hours, early, late, especially in the beginning when you're figuring things out. That's just a given, especially if you're working alone, because it's all going to be on you. And this can be super frustrating because there's certain things that happen in baking that is going to take you all the way back to square one if something happens that's wrong, if something wrong happens. So this can be very frustrating. People don't normally bake to get rich. This isn't like, get rich quick scheme. It's a service industry, so it isn't like that, but you can make a good income with this if you do it right. I've been able to reach 6 figures at certain points in my business doing certain things. We are a military family, so I have a little bit of a different struggle than others. I have to leave my communities that I've built every 2 to 3 years. So who knows what I would be doing right now if we'd never moved any of those times. But it's giving me some good perspective on different ways to sell, what different communities are looking for, how to get started in a new place, that kind of thing. So it's helped me as far as a mentor goes. Definitely the first year is going to be a lot of lessons and heartache. So just expect that. Just know that everything's not going to work out. It's not meant to, because you're trying clothes on. You don't know exactly what looks right. You don't know exactly what fits right. So you got to try different things and put other stuff back on the shelf and grab new things. That's really year 1 is going to be the basis of that. Whereas year 2 and 3 are going to bring more long-term growth and successes because you've learned your community, you've learned yourself, and you're starting to set up those boundaries for the future. Again, it's a service job, and it's going to include people skills. So if that is a difficult skill for you, you might want to brush up on that, maybe take a little class or a course, or just get back out in the community and start making friends and talking to people and getting used to that, because you're going to be dealing with many people if you sell publicly. So if you want to be at a market or you want to do custom work, you're going to be talking one-on-one with the public daily. And you can deal with less people if you want to do wholesale or ghost kitchen or something similar. So if people skills are not your thing, you might want to talk to me or ask about other options that don't have as much people interaction. You are going to be utilizing a lot of skills here, especially if you're an entrepreneur doing this on your own. So we're talking about math, marketing, photography, boundaries, ingenuity, creativity, grit, patience, chemistry, and so many more. Those are just the first ones that came to my mind where I felt like these are things that I needed to work on. So every year as I was going through the last 17 years, there was a new topic that I was trying to get better at. On top of all of this, it might sound like a lot, but the reason I'm doing this is because I get a lot of calls from people who just don't have the reality in check. And what I don't want you to do is be disappointed with your choices. I want you to be as joyful and happy as you can throughout your years. So I want you to feel like you've been given this opportunity clearly. But on top of everything that I've said, baking might be exhausting, okay? But it's absolutely my most treasured profession. I've done lots of things in my life, and I would say that if this is a dream that you have, you should do it, because there's this certain type of fulfillment and ability to make a difference and touch the hearts of those in your community. This service type of job that you're creating for yourself, and you're doing what you want and what people around you want. There's something to that. There's a lot of positive dopamine because you're making things with your hands, and there's just a lot of goodness to it. So if you have the ability and you have the grit and you're interested in getting into this challenge and adventure, then I suggest after step 1, you're moving on to step 2. And that's just making a quick choice right now to do some research on, will you be baking commercially or will you be baking cottage or home baking? I'll be covering this topic in next week's session to help out, because there's some questions I get about this where I can tell, again, some rose-colored glasses as far as looking at commercial versus home, that kind of thing. So I just want to make sure you kind of know the difference between the two. Again, we'll talk about that next week. Most people do start from home, especially in the US, and this is where in the US you're going to need to check your state cottage laws. They're called cottage laws for baking and food sales. And you're going to need to check this now because it's going to lay out the laws surrounding what you're doing. What can you sell? How much can you make? What are the laws? What are the permits? What are the regulations? Stuff like that. You're going to need, and it's different for every state, of course. So you're going to need to read up on everything. It's going to help you understand how realistic your initial ideas are about what you want to do and what you might have to shift or change to get to a different idea of what you're going to do, but then be able to do it legally. Because again, I'm not going to, tell on you for whatever you're doing, but what I don't want you to do is spend a ton of time and money and then realize, shoot, I can't even do this. I can't even bake a cheesecake, which is usually a restricted item for cottage laws. And it's also a very popular item that people love to make. So things like that, we just want to make sure that it's a realistic idea of how you want to move forward. Okay. And then if you're baking commercially, contact your local office. It's usually going to be the health department, but sometimes in smaller communities, it's the agricultural department. You're going to get some information on what will need to be in place to sell legally, so you can look at the options and financials of it. Once you've taken a look at what is possible in your area, you're going to move on to step 3. Step 3 is research your ideas and gather a checklist. So this is where you're getting your notebook out. You probably already had it out for step 2, but you're getting your notebook out. You're creating a checklist of what needs to be done. After you know where you'll be baking, so commercial or home, you're going to be able to find information on the financial, some financial things that might need to happen and regulations associated with these places. So you might have a list of permits, fees, registrations, offices to contact, that kind of thing. You can start making a list of costs to get started. So if each of these cost a few dollars or a couple $100 or whatever, start writing all that down. If you have timelines in place, write those down so you can begin collecting the paperwork needed. You don't have to fill it out yet because there's a lot of questions to still be answered, but gathering the paperwork for all of this or the websites or whatever, so you know what kind of schedule you're going to need to follow. I want to mention this here. There's a myth that a lot of new bakers that I talk to tell me they feel like they have to set up an LLC, a limited liability company, for their tax identity in the US tax system, but it is not true. It's not necessary to have an LLC. You will see a lot of ads for this. It's because businesses make money setting up the LLC for you. You can set up an LLC on your own. Yeah, does it take time? Sure. But these companies make money off of getting you to set one up because they're kind of doing the middleman work for you. So that's where a lot of those ads are coming from. You do not have to have one. You can be a sole proprietor, which is what I am, and a lot of other bakers are. State by state, the pricing and laws are a little bit different. So there's reasons that people have LLCs and reasons that people don't. I have a couple videos here in the group. You can search for LLC versus sole proprietorship or something similar to that. You should see those videos come up if you want to hear more about what I've learned about the differences between the two, and I explain why I do what I do so you can get a better idea. The reason I bring this up is that LLCs are often can be a very high cost. When we were living in California, it was $800 a year. In fact, I had a friend who had a home cafe, and she set up an LLC through those websites that were telling her she had to. And they actually did not inform her that it was a yearly $800. She thought it was a one-time fee. So things like that. Okay, we just have to be aware. And then once you've got some of this written down, you're starting to make your checklist. You're going to move on to step 4, so you can have a place to gather your information. Number 4 is find a bakery-specific business plan document to fill in. Do you have to create a business plan from scratch on a clean piece of paper? No. You can find documents and other things that kind of guide you through the process of this. This might look like a rough menu, a business name, a location, a sales goal, a projected financial situation, a mission statement if you have one, etc. So it's just giving you a place to kind of put everything. You're going to start filling in this business plan, but we want it to be extensive enough to make sense for what we're doing, but also bakery related, because what's going to happen is you're going to go on the internet and you're going to search free business plan and you're going to see all these generic ones come up. But what you might not know is that these are made for like any business. So what if I was a tech person, or what if I was a nail stylist, or what if I was a pet groomer, or what if I, a truck driver? Like, there's so many different businesses that you can have. So the difficulty with these is they're going to be written in a jargon that's not fun to read. For the most part, they're going to be very simplified. So they're not going to have like usually financial goal areas, long-term goal areas, bakery related sections. They're just going to be super generic. There's a reason they're free. Usually it's a website you have to sign up for to get the free thing, and then they start emailing you about other stuff. So I'm just letting you know you can use that, but it's not going to really do a great job, especially if you need to apply for something like a loan later. That's not going to cut it. You're going to have to do it again with something else. I did create an extensive document to fill this gap because there aren't very many bakery related business plan documents. I made one specifically for bakers, and it's up in the shop on my website if you want to look at it and use it. It is a purchase. You can get it right there. It's on the buildabetterbakerynow.com website. You're going to click on resources and then printables in the navigation. Then you'll see it pop up. There's other documents and other printables in there too. That one I think is it's in a bundle where you get multiple things together, and I think it's also a la carte. So whichever is easiest. While you're doing this, take a moment to search your business name. This is something that people get devastated with because they'll put all this work and energy into choosing a business name, and then they don't research it. And then as they go to make their website or their online handles, they realize that it's already been taken. So I want you to research this now. Have a couple business names in mind. You're going to look at Google. You're going to look at your DBA for your state, so doing business as list. You're going to look at US trademark website. You can look at Facebook, Instagram, any social accounts, and just kind of put in handles and see what's available. It's going to give you an idea if your business identity, as you have it currently set, or your idea, if it can be used. And this is also going to get you into the habit of how you need to check for availability for things, especially online places and spaces, before making any commitments. I've seen way too many bakers come up with a name, make logos, go to Canva, get everything printed out, and then realize I can't even use this name, someone else has it. So check it first. Now, if you check it and it's not available, I want you to avoid applying a small misspelling or a quirky spelling to get around an already used name. It's not usually working out for most people, and it can cause a lot of confusion for your clients because they're going to, if your business was called Cool Cakes, most everyone's going to spell it COOLCAKES, not KOOLKA whatever, right? Like changing C's to K's are really popular, but it doesn't look professional, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people are doing that, so I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I've misspelled in the past. I've done things like this with a different business, and it's been a problem, and it still is a problem, and that business is like 15 years old. So I'm just saying that you can avoid a lot of issues with that. Just putting that out there. So use the business plan to begin formulating your financial numbers. That's going to be kind of one of the bigger goals of having this, because I want to help you imagine the plan to save or spend on this journey. That's, again, just going to help you build your expectations so you're not let down, so that you understand the reality of what's happening. If you'd like more direction and assistance with this step, I get a lot of people trailing off on the business plan because they get nervous and they don't know what to do, and they're so nervous about finding a business plan that works. What you can do is register for something that I have called Plan for Success, which is an online course. And it includes that business plan that I made earlier. So that's part of it. It's in there. But what you get with the course is you also get a video walkthrough step by step. So I fill it out with you. I talk about each section to you in the videos. You can always ask questions in the course or email me about it as you're working through. So you basically get your hand held through the process. And then on top of that, it contains a ton of important information just from a seasoned entrepreneur who's done this before, who would have absolutely loved to know some of this stuff before the first time. Anytime you do something for the first time, there's always going to be problems. So I kind of let you know exactly what happened so that you don't have to deal with a lot of that. What you can do is head over to that same website, buildabetterbakerynow.com, and you can click on online courses in the navigation. That's going to send you to one of my online course pages. You're going to see it in there. What I decided to do was create a code START, S-T-A-R-T, that you can put in to get half off of the course. And I'm going to have that available through July 16th midnight. So that gives you a couple days to look at it and decide, but it will go away on July 16th, and I have no other plans to discount that course at this time. So if you're interested in Plan for Success, that's when you should do it in the next few days. And as always, we protect our bakers. So we don't do this thing where people like take money and run. We don't do that. It's love it or your money back. And you'll read all of, I think it's 30 days or something like that. You'll read all about it. So it's meant to be there to help you. Now, once you have your business plan in place, or at least downloaded and started to fill it in, you can move on to step 5, which is the last one I'm going to talk about today. You're going to create your life-changing 90-day plan timeline. If you're a big planner, you're going to love this. This is going to be something that makes sense because you've done all this research and you've gotten all of this information. If you're not a big planner, I will tell you how I can help you in just a few seconds. But getting a 90-day plan is important once you've gathered all your information. Reason being is you're going to need a place to organize everything that you've put together into an action-packed section of time. Because what I don't want you to do is imagine things are getting up and running when they really aren't. So getting the 90-day plan is going to help you see, am I on track to open in X days? Am I on track to have this done in X days? And each business is different. You know, I've worked with thousands of people across the world. There are so many different momentums, ideas, goals that it's going to look different for every person. And your agenda is going to be a little different too. You might be, you know, having 20, 30 hours a week to apply to this, or you might have 4 or 5. So there's going to be a different speed usually for people, which is why I'd suggest getting with me for this step within a private coaching call, especially for people who aren't great at planning. I think it's really important to get another set of eyeballs on what you want to do. What I like to do with these is I listen to exactly what you want to do. I take a bunch of notes. I get information from you. You kind of share your research with me and let me know what needs to happen. And then I get your goals on paper. I plan them out from deconstructing them all the way back to step 1. I put it out on your 90-day plan, and I basically formulate it for you and email it to you. Your 90-day plan will make or break the opening of your business in most cases. So those first few months are really important if you're trying to get something done and start making income right away. And I'd like to do everything I can to help you create an efficient, professional, and seamless transition from hobby to professional business. A lot of times it's not very clean, especially if you're doing it on your own. So if you want to save time and money, it's really great to have someone alongside of you that's done this before. And really, it's just easier to get some things done when a mentor sets out the timeline for you. So, you know, you might say, oh, I'm going to research this week, but you take 5, 6, 7 days to research. Whereas I know you can probably get it done in 2 days. So I will set the timeline as such so that you have someone saying, hey, this is probably the appropriate amount of time for this. You know, then you can move on to the next thing. It just keeps you on task for each day, doing your task each day, and then you know that you're on track. With your 90-day plan, you'll want to see everything. If you're going to make your own, you're going to want to see everything from brainstorming sessions to deadlines to project completion dates. You're going to want to have all this in there, plus plan time off and more. So there's many aspects to the plan, and it has to do with balancing your current schedule, understanding how much time you have to input into this, things like that. So working, you know, you can't grind every day, every minute of every day. So making it a realistic timeline is going to help people or help yourself succeed. To schedule a time to get your 90-day plan put together by me, you can head over to the website again. You can click on Connect in the navigation and then go down to private coaching to schedule with me. You'll see some options. The 90-day plan, I think, is going to show up as the first option. You can click there and do that. So to recap, the first 5 steps of starting your baking business can be boiled down to brainstorming, research, and planning. You know, you can get in there, you can start baking, you can start recipe testing on the side. I'm not telling you not to do any of that, and I know that's really kind of the fun part. But what I've seen people do is do that first, and then they don't do anything that they're supposed to do otherwise. And what happens is they kind of find themselves hundreds or $1,000s deep in their choices of, you know, stuff they had to buy, and then hundreds of hours in the hole, and then they don't really have a business because they never set anything up. They don't have any goals. They don't have any information. They've just been baking. If you're not interested in doing this long term, if you're not interested in making an income, if you're not interested in doing any type of long term baking, maybe you don't need to do all this. But if you're trying to do this and make it work, and make sure that you know what's going on, and even to maybe hire employees or bring your kids on later or whatever it is for yourself, especially if you're doing this commercially, you really do need to do some of the planning first. So do yourself a favor, get in there and do it right this first time so you don't end up wasting a bunch of time later. If you need me, I mentioned the business plan document above. That's just a download, easy peasy. We have the Plan for Success course, which again, you just enroll in that. There's that START code, S-T-A-R-T code, that's good until July 16th midnight to get half off. It includes the business plan. So if you're interested in getting your hand held through that, that is a really good choice. And then also that private coaching, which is something we can just meet up. We can do just a regular strategy call if you don't want to do the 90-day plan, or you can do the 90-day plan and get that set up. Or if you just want to meet me and figure out if we vibe together, if it's a good fit, there are those free 20-minute sessions. So if we've never had a call together before, you can choose one of those as well. And then I can always email you links to the things that you need after that. Okay, I hope this is helpful for everybody. I'm not seeing any comments, at least that I can see, so we are good. Okay, we will be back next Thursday this month for our next topic, which is cottage to commercial baking, or cottage or commercial baking. So we're just going to talk about the differences between the two, especially if you have questions about that. I hope you all have the best day. I'll see you next week, and I hope to be able to support you in mentorship soon. Bye.